Minglawa, this is the weekly highlight news of Radio NUG. I'm James. Here are the news highlights for this week. The acting president of the National Unity Government, His Excellency Duwa Lashi, sends a message to the 28th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. The Myanmar Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Ambassador U Kyaw Moe Tun, attends the Plenary Meeting of 78th Session of the UN General Assembly in New York. The Myanmar citizens in New York participate in a rally to commemorate International Human Rights Day and other interesting news. These are the weekly news details. The acting president of the National Unity Government, His Excellency Duwa Lashi, sent a message to the World Climate Summit and Senior Official Meeting of the 28th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP28, on 9 of December. According to the message, the acting president stated that Myanmar is extremely vulnerable to climate change. This terrible situation is worsened by the terrorist military junta's illegal extraction of our natural resources during the country's crisis. Now that the National Unity Government and ethnic revolutionary groups have expanded their control areas, we can not only manage the environment well, but we can also implement our commitments to combat climate change in order to achieve the goals of the sustainable development. The acting president reiterated that he will keep the promises made in the light of the country's capacity to reduce CO2 emission from electricity generation by 105.24 million tons, to reduce deforestation by 50% and reduce CO2 emission from cumulated net emissions by 1 to 3.5 million tons, to distribute 1 million LPG stoves and reduce CO2 emissions from 14.94 million tons by distributing electricity from renewable energy sources to 2.7 million rural residents by 2030. The president of Timor-Leste, Jose Ramos, urged the military officials and soldiers from the terrorist military junta to open a new door for the country by not killing the people and not firing a single bullet, according to the release of the video clip of the National Unity Government of the president of the Timor-Leste exhortation to the members of the Myanmar military forces. According to the president of the East Timor, the hope of the democracy in Myanmar was in 2015 to 2020, but it was destroyed once the military seized power. He also stated that during this year, he alerted the international community about Myanmar, but the international community was only interested in the Rohingya issue rather than Myanmar's democratic issue. However, Myanmar's problem extends beyond the Rohingya. The Myanmar terrorist military is currently killing civilians. Military officers and soldiers were born from civilians, so they must protest civilians. He urged them to open the country's new door by refusing to point their guns at the people and not firing a single bullet. The president of East Timor reiterated that military soldiers have historic opportunities to restore democracy in the country, Southeast Asia and Asia. The East Timor president also urged the terrorist military and forces to grab the opportunity to make history. This historical right is fully protested and no more wars are necessary. You may return your barracks. You are not required to point guns at your people. Return your weapons to the barracks. Join the people's military on the road to democracy. Help one another. Let us put an end to this evil. Timor-Leste is also a country that has called on the international community, including the United Nations, to help Myanmar achieve democracy and to take action against Myanmar's terrorist military junta. The Myanmar Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Ambassador U Kyaw Moe Tun, attended the Plenary Meeting of the 78th Session of the UN General Assembly in New York, under Agenda Item 72. Strengthening of the coordination of the humanitarian and disaster relief assistance of the United Nations, including special economic assistance, held on 8 December. The ambassador stated that the number of the people in need of the humanitarian assistance has grown from 1 million before the illegal coup to over 80 million in 2023. The humanitarian response plan of the $887 million remains critically underfunded. He urged the Myanmar state and international donors to continue injecting funds to help the people in need. Currently, over 2 million people have been displaced. Over 50 million people are experiencing food insecurity. Therefore, providing humanitarian assistance through community networks and cross-border channels by local actors in conflict-affected areas remains the best possible modality in a situation like Myanmar. The Icheon Cultural Foundation in Seoul, Korea presented the Public Benefit Award to the Myanmar Representative Office of the National Unity Government in the Republic of Korea on 9 December. Every year, the Icheon Cultural Foundation in Seoul grants awards to deserving public benefit organizations that actively collaborate with the general public to create happy communities. The Icheon Cultural Foundation Hall in Seoul hosted the award ceremony, which was attended by U Tun, the representative of Myanmar in Korea, who also accepted the award. He clarified the situation in Myanmar following the revolution. It is reported that for the second time in 2023, not only Korean social organizations as in the previous years, but also the Korean NUG Representative Office and Myanmar organizations actively working for Myanmar's democracy were chosen in the selection of the public benefit awardees. A rally was held in Times Square, the center of New York City, with the theme, "Let's root out the military dictatorship to restore human rights," in observance of the International Human Rights Day on 10 December. The rally was organized by New York City Burmese Community (NYCBC), and it was attended by Myanmar citizens from New York. They demanded immediate stop to the terrorist military junta's violence, expressed action against the military airstrike and killing of the civilians, including in refugee camps. They also asked for the international sanctions, including UN sanctions. They also launched an on-the-way Eugenia movement in order to achieve victory for the People's Defense Forces (PDF) and Ethnic Defense Forces, which stood firmly on the side of the people during the Spring Revolution and fought to defend against the terrorist military force. After that, some attendees demanded the immediate release of Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and those unlawfully detained, expressed solidarity with students sentenced to death for their benefits. They discussed the advancement of the human rights and protection of child rights. These are the weekly highlight news of Radio NUG. We will present more interesting weekly local news to you. Thanks for joining our news.